So just click that. Right, so we'll get going straight away. First of all, thanks very much, everyone. My name is Colin Crowley. For any of you that aren't familiar with me, I'm a GDA in Cork with the County Board, and I suppose, look, just with us, our current workload is down due to the everything being on lockdown. So we're just trying to keep interactive as possible with the coaches out there on the ground, and this is just something we're going to try. With a good response the other night for the workshop we did, and we're just going to get going here straight away. So nursery coaching workshops, so coaching for 4 to 7-year-olds. So some of you might have seen this already, but I'll just go through it and I'll try to give a couple of different points in it as we're going on. Okay, so the aims are to introduce fun games and activities for warm-up and fundamental movements, to introduce simple game concepts to ensure that children have fun, to design games to focus on skill development in hurling and football. So from a fundamental point of view, what I'll do is I'll get a couple of tags at the end of it with coaches, with people that are sharing content on Twitter that are very, very good, and we'll have a bit more information on this. So we'll get going and the fundamental movements and warm-up games. So basically what we're talking about here is, I suppose, the functional movement, getting kids moving better. So games that I like to play would be like flush the toilet, under a bridge, turtles stuck in the mud, frogs. They're all chase games with various different elements involved. So I'll tag one of my tweets that has all those games highlighted and how to play them. Bulldog, animal movements, Simon Says, monkey tails, cups and saucers. They're all just simple game concepts that a lot of us would have played ourselves probably when we were younger. But the benefits of it were massive. Whilst all these games don't use a hurley or football, they are still highly specific to GA and the fundamental skills needed by children to excel, not just in GA and sport, but also to enable them better quality of life as they age. Skills that are applicable from these games that benefit sport are the following. So as I said, if you're playing flush the toilet, there'll be acceleration, deceleration, agility, balance, coordination, sprinting, twisting, jumping, sidestep, squatting, lunging, falling, getting up, turning, rolling, chasing, evading, peripheral vision, non-verbal and verbal communication, teamwork, tactics, cooperation. So there's massive benefits to just playing one game of flush the toilet, where you might look at and go, what's that got to do with hurling and football? It's got 100% of things to do with it. So they're very, very important, but it's also getting kids playing chase games where they're multi-directional movement, lots of contacts, lots of evasion and stuff like that. Everything done in a simple game, flush toilet, will help each child in any sport, not just hurling and football. They'll help them in every sport. So I'm just going to show you a variation of a game here. I'll be quiet while it's on. Just pause it actually for a second. So this we did this with the TYs in Hamilton High School in Bandon, I'd say 3 years ago now nearly, and I asked them in groups of 3 to come up with games, and one of them came up with this game. I'd never seen it before. It's just a chase game, but it's a tag game involved, where you're working with a partner. So I think the 3 boys here are on, and they must catch someone. If they catch someone, or that pair go on then themselves. But the group themselves came up with this game. Sorry, I'll go back to it. They came up with this game themselves, and as I said, it was just for me to see a bunch of 16-year-olds come up with something so inventive was really impressive. So I'll just play it here. Excuse any bad language that you might hear. So you can see how it's just working on teamwork. As I said, the 3 are obviously at a disadvantage. Everyone else is at a 2. But you can see the teamwork and communication that's involved and the different movements needed. But it's just a simple game, and if 16-year-olds like it, 6-year-olds would like it. That's the way I put it with them. So I said it just gives you an idea of how simple something could be and how unique, but how easy it is for kids to play. So things to consider when designing warm-up activities: fun. 3 things that I'd say all the time. Fun, it has to be some way engaging for the kids. That has got to be some sort of a winning, losing element to make it fun and enjoyable. There's got to be an increased heart rate. So are they moving lots? So they're not just moving for 1 minute of a 5-minute activity, that they're constantly moving, or the heart rate is rising throughout the activity. And the last one is multi-directional movement. And what I mean by that is that there's they're doing lots of different activities. So it's not just running in a straight line, they're running sidestep, they might be dipping down, they might be climbing through people's legs, things like that. So 3 simple things to think of if you're doing a warm-up. Is it fun? Does it increase the heart rate? Does it get multi-directional movement? So nice and simple, but as I said, if every time you do a warm-up, does it hit those 3 things? That's a fairly good start. As I said, it mightn't be perfect, but it'll get you to about 70% of kids being happy with it and the benefit out of it from your side. So the next one, age-appropriate skill development. So this is just something that I like to use myself. Some of you are probably familiar with this already. It's just setting in place 3 new skills to learn on every given year. So if you start with junior infants, let's say under 5, we'll call them, that in hurling we're just introducing 3 things: grip, dribble, stopping and moving ball, along with the ground strike. And in football, along with the ground kick, bounce, low, chest catch, and throwing or passing the ball. Now, what I mean by them introducing them is that you'd like to think by the end of the year, the kids are competent at that. Every child is competent at those 4 skills in hurling and those 4 skills in football. So the bar might be a little bit low. You think, here, a 5-year-old boy, he can kick the ball out of his hands. He probably can. But if you can get every child kicking left and right on the ground at the age of 5, that's a success. At 6, move up to the next level. So for hurling, you'd be ground strike on the run, frontal block, shoulder clash, and ball control, be that dribbling, flicking, stopping, moving ball, things that include trying to gain control of the ball. In football, punt kick, a catch, varying different would be low, high, chest, movement with the ball, so that'd be bouncing at 6-year-olds, maybe a small introduction to a solo, and the pickup, again, introduction to that. And said it's a skill with lots of motor needs, and it's a difficult one for kids to get. But at 6, if you can start introducing simple starts to it. So what I'll demonstrate by that, let's say at under 7, when we're saying hooking at under 7, at under 6 we can be introducing the concept of it, that they're hooking 10 air, that they're just then putting the hurley out as if they're trying to hook someone. So I like to use the reference of Zorro. You're all familiar with Zorro, the mask of Zorro. And what it is that someone has a sword and they're sticking it in to the coach's belly is what I tell the kids. So if the kids are able to do that movement, that when we start doing the coach teaching the hook in a year's time, they're able to learn that, or they're able to do it a lot quicker. So they know the muscle movement is there. They know when you do the Zorro, you're trying to hook someone. So simple things like that. If you can start introducing little ideas to the pickup, what key concepts do we want to get to pick up? We want to get their standing foot in front of the ball. So little things like that. So those skills, these are what I would do, but obviously it's up to yourself to do something yourself, to modify them to suit your own kids and your own team's needs. What I'd say, the reason we do three skills a year is just that if you focus, I suppose anyone was with us the other night, if you can focus a lot of time on those 3 skills, by the end of the year, you'll be fairly competent. So rather than trying to do 9, 10, 11 different skills throughout the year, we're just limiting it to 3. And if you do three of those really well over the course of 8, 9 months, you'll have a very, very competent child doing it. As I said, those skills, you'd like to think that's the minimum level of what they're going to do by the end of the year. That every child is competent. You'll obviously have children who come into you at 5, can hit the ball out of their hands and can catch the ball and can control it into the hand first time. They might have 3 older brothers, 3 older sisters that they're playing with all the time. They just have that further adaptation. But if you can get the weakest child able to do all them by the end of the year, that's great. The agility, balance, coordination, went through them already, and I'll give you a bit more content in them later on. So using games to develop skills, 6 things. As I said, mightn't be able to get all 6, but you can definitely get a few of them. Would be that it's fun. Everything for a child when they're taking part in hurling and football has to be fun. When they're coming up to the pitch on a Tuesday night or a Saturday morning, it has to be fun, that they're going, yeah, I love that. I look forward to going back. Mom, when is it on again? Dad, when is it on again? Can we go down the pitch? Can we practice? So by making things fun, they'll be encouraged to do it themselves at home, practice, and also to encourage more friends to come up and stuff like that. So it has to be fun. It has to be engaging in that. What I mean by that is that it's not monotonous. It's not straight line stuff, 4 kids waiting in a line while one person does it, that they're all engaged as much of the time as possible. Age appropriate. What I mean by that is that we're not teaching a 5-year-old how to solo the football, or we're not teaching a 5-year-old how to do a high catch in hurling with a slitter. You might be introducing the high catch with a beanbag, but you won't be doing them with a slitter. So you have to do content that's appropriate to their age that will allow them to succeed. So if you can allow them to succeed, they'll feel their confidence will be high, they'll enjoy it more. So making sure that the content is appropriate to their age is very, very important at all times. So I'm not saying you limit what they're doing, because the good kids, they'll do it at home themselves. And the kids, they might get that experience. But the weakest kids, you have to be able to cater for them. The ones that might only pick up the hurley once every week or once every second week when training is on, you have to be able to set the content at their level that they can achieve. They mightn't be able to execute it perfectly, but if they can strive to achieve it by the end of the year, that's very important. The winning, what I mean by that is that it's a competition element that'll add to the fun, that there's a winning, losing, maybe different teams, various things. It'll teach them about winning, losing, life, and all that as well. Skill development, very important, that you want to be able to say that it's somewhat sports specific to hurling and football, so that they're going to improve a skill by doing a activity. So if you're teaching them, if you want to work on the ground strike, you might work on something like no man's land. So it's specific to the skill, and you know why you're doing it. And the last one is lots of ball contacts. Kids want the ball. So have a ball, at least a ball per child, be it a tennis ball for hurling, or be it one of those plastic footballs you get in the pound shop for football. Any type of football, once you have lots of them. There's nothing worse than a child waiting for somebody else to have a ball. So just 6 things to consider every time you're drawing up an exercise or doing an exercise. So the core skills in hurling, so I spoke about the core skills already, and the 3 new skills. So in hurling, every year you have to work on striking, and you have to work on the stages, and the same in football. So what you got to imagine is that you're building a house, the foundation is the ground strike, hitting the ball on the ground. First floor is hitting the ball while a moving ball. So the ball might be moving and being able to hit the ball, doubling it back or doubling with it. The third one might be striking the ball on the run. In football, ground kick is the foundation. What's the first floor is the bounce kick. Ball is bouncing, the kid's kicking it. Punt kick is the second floor. Punt kick on the run is the next floor, and you keep developing and developing and developing. But set them at the level that they're able to achieve. Okay, so it's very, very important that hurling and football, you do put a huge emphasis on striking in hurling and kicking in football. So I'm just going to go through a few of the games here that are suitable for both hurling and football. So no man's land, most of you are familiar with. It's having one team versus another team, or you can have 4 teams playing into sideways and diagonal. You must hit as many balls into the opposition team as you can. What it focuses on is you get lots and lots of ball contacts, lots of striking, lots of blocking. So they're very simple skills that are really appropriate. So I'm just going to show you a video here we did in a primary school. Just get this to play. So you got the team on the left versus the team on the right, and all they're doing is hitting the ball over and back. So they're using hurlogs, so they don't need to use helmets, which for primary school coaching is great. Just in the perspective of not having to put on helmets when you've only got 30 minutes of a class. If you spend 10 minutes putting on a helmet, which you could take for the junior and senior infants. So we use hurlogs, and there's about 50 balls in that bag that they're using. So every child, there's a ball near. And if there's not one ball, they're close to a ball. So the good kid might hit 40 balls, the weak kid might hit 5 balls, but there's nobody giving out to the children nobody in the team giving out. So it's a very simple game. And as I said, what it'll do is just really focus on the striking for kids and the blocking. So for 5, 6 year olds, really important skills, but they're probably skills that every child can achieve. Every child, no matter how good or bad they are, they'll get plenty of ball contacts in that activity. So the next one is over the bar. So from a football perspective, you could do it through the goals in hurling. Again, like no man's land, but there's a goals in the middle. So what you want, rather than just kicking the ball over aimlessly, they're kicking the ball through a target. Again, if there's a scoring element involved, kids are happy. They love that. So that's another one. Goal to goal, again, just get a partner, get 2 cones each, set up little goals, and you must try to score as many goals in your partner as they can on you. You can swap the partners every few minutes, but it's just lots and lots of ball contacts. And again, it's focusing on the kicking or striking, and it's focusing on blocking the ball or stopping the ball coming to you. So it's simple skills that are really important and really good for confidence for the kids. Next one is bouncy, as we call it. It's very simple for football. It's just going around, bouncing the ball on each spot. So whether you're using a cone or a spot, that they bounce the ball beside it. So you might say, right, red, and the kids run and they'll bounce the ball at the red, and after, then you blow the whistle, bring the ball back to your partner, then your partner goes. As I said, better again if everybody has a ball, they're all doing it at the same time. For hurling, Bean bags on a hurley, leave them solo around the cones. Very simple, as I said, and you can introduce simple things like putting in county colours. So what colour are Cork? Right, red and white. Go to red, white, red, white. What colour are Tipperary? Green, blue, yellow, blue, yellow. What colour are Limerick? Green, white, so on and so on. So you can come up with all colours like that, and it can just give the kids a small bit of, I suppose, just the interest in the GA that the next time they might go, Mammy, what colour are Dublin again if we're playing that game? So just simple things like that they might just show an interest. Very simple game again, but just works on controlling the ball, being in possession of the ball. So going back to the core, the key steps at that age. Rob the Nest, again, one of my favourites. Kids love it. 4 teams, get as many balls back into your square as you can. So here we just see it here in action. So there's 4 teams, you can see them in each of the corners, all the balls in the middle. So what they must do is must get a ball and dribble it back to the square. So again, it's another ball control one. It can be done in football as well. So we'll just see it in action here. And a bit of chaos ensues. Kids are happy. Once there's noise, you know they're happy. So very simple, they're dribbling the ball back. And this goes on for a while, and after a while when all the balls gone from the middle, you can go and you can steal a ball from the other team. So you can see now they're starting to run around and steal a ball from the other team's groups. You got a bit of defensive play going on here as well. So you need to set down the rules as to what they're actually allowed to do and stuff like that. So you're not allowed to tackle someone. You're not allowed to stop someone stealing the ball. You have to dribble the ball on the ground. Simple things like that. So as you can see there in the video, they're using the hurlogs. Some kids are probably holding the hurley incorrectly, but this is probably the first time a lot of them might have played the game. So smaller the hurleys, the better. As I said, hurlogs are great. Use smaller ones because what they'll do if the hurley is so small, they will just use one hand on the hurley and that'll be their dominant hand. So next one is Croker Run. Again, another ball control game. And what they're doing here is they must run from one side of the court to the other. And we'll start with, I'll be the coach, so I'm going to be tackling. So they might get past me 5 or 6 times before I try to stop them. I said you can progress it on to jab lifting the ball, or not jab lifting the ball, but soloing a beanbag. And in football, it can be just bouncing the ball every 4 steps. And as I said, the coach might be the tackler. So as I said, you, the coach, or get a couple of other parents to stand in, and they'll become the tacklers as it goes on. But it's a nice, simple game again. Kids love it. They all get a ball. They're all taking part in the game. You get 7 or 8 minutes out of that activity on ball control. So nice, easy game that the kids love. Piggy in the middle, the most basic one of them all. You're all aware of yourselves. You're all aware of the game. Piggy in the middle. And it's just what I would say that is again, coaches be the piggies or get parents off the sideline. It's a great way to get parents involved is these type of games that you go, right, parents, we need 10 parents there. If you have 20 kids in the session, we need 10 parents to be the piggies in the middle and leave the kids, and parents they should, you'd like to think anyway that they'll make life easy for the kids, and they'll be leaving the kids pass the ball around them and stuff like that. But it's a great way to get parents involved with you as a coach, that they mightn't want to be comfortable coaching, but they might be able to do that. And if they're able to do that, you might be able to get involved with another thing the next time. So again, hurling or football, both nice, simple game. Involves a bit of passing, a bit of communication and stuff like that. Okay. Sorry, 1 second there now. So that's the games. Now all those games are there. I'll show you the link to it in a second. Tips for coaching children. As I said, the fun and enjoyment should be a priority. Games are better than drills. So what I mean by drills is where you have 4 or 5 kids lined up waiting for a go of a ball. So I know the classic one that you'd see in a lot of nurseries would be the coach would be at the end of the line. The kids run out. The coach throws the ball to the kid catches it. The coach throws it into the next kid. And the child waits for another go for 5 more people to go. Can we do that better? So that's a thing I want to take out of tonight, is can we make it more child-friendly? That is there a way we can get the kids playing some sort of a game where they're working on catching as opposed to the coach standing at the end of the line? Eliminate queuing where possible. So if there's more than 2 kids in a line, it's probably too much. 3 is the max. And I know some activities they might need 3 because one will be going at a time, one will be waiting, one will just be finished. They're just recovering from the last one. So if it is some sort of a game or a race or something like that. No waiting around while others play. Limit it as much as possible again. You have to think that if you've got a session for 60 minutes, and a lot of kids mightn't pick up the hurley from last week's session to today's session, or a football, you need to get them 60 minutes of ball contacts. If they're in a group of 3 for the whole session, that means they're only getting 20 minutes of ball contacts. If they're in a group of 5, it means they're only getting 12 minutes of ball contacts. So you need to maximize the amount of ball contacts by getting them as involved as possible for all activities. Age-appropriate content, went through that already. Happy coach leads to happy players. I know that a lot of you will probably be working all day and you've got to pick up the kid straight down to the pitch, go coaching in the nursery, and it can be draining at times. But the kids they'll sense of you, whether if you're in a good mood, they'll be in a good mood. So it's important that you need to put on the happy face for the hour. Just as I said, the kids can sense that, and they can sense the enjoyment and the passion that comes from the coach. So if you're not enjoying it, they won't enjoy it either. The fun and enjoyment should be a priority. Don't be too worried about skill development. As I said, once they're enjoying it and they're happy, they'll keep coming down. And what you need to do is that once they get to 13, 14, they need to think, I love playing GA, I love playing hurling, I love playing football, or whatever sport it is. They need to enjoy it. If they don't enjoy it, they're going to stop coming down eventually. When they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, mommy or daddy is dropping them down 9 times out of 10. So they're being brought to the training as opposed to wanting to go there. Once they get into secondary school, they need to have positive times that they remember and they can recall back on. So make sure that it's enjoyment. You've got, from a child starts in a nursery, they've probably got 15 years of developing as a hurler and footballer. You're not going to do it all in 1 or 2 years. It's really important long term. Okay. Instructing the games to individuals. So rather than while the game is on, shouting in generic comments, mark your man and stuff like that, talk to individuals. So go over to little Johnny. Johnny, is there any, what's the job now of the back? And he'll usually give you an answer that he's after coming up with. So that might be, to mark your man. Brilliant, good man. See, get a bit tighter so. And rather than shouting at the whole lot of them, give it to individuals. So the ones that actually need the learning will get it. Keep talking to a minimum. What I mean by that is that when the session does start, don't be getting all the kids in a huddle and team talks and stuff like that. Let them play. They'll appreciate that a lot more. Kids will hold interest 30 seconds maximum. You all know it. You all have kids yourselves. Mostly, like kids, their attention span is minimal. If you're out in a pitch and there is 101 different things going on around the place, their eyes are going to start going towards those 101 things if you're talking too much. And again, fun and enjoyment should be priority. So what I've got here is I just put up some resources of people that I find very useful. So I got John Murphy, who'll be, I suppose he's got stuff there, the nursery plan and his Google Drive. He's got 10 sessions that he did last year. That are top class, really, really well organized. They're ticking all the boxes as regards fundamental movements, gameplay, stuff like that, enjoyment. Have a look at that if you can. Really, really good stuff. We would have shared it on Twitter every time he puts it up, so it's there on the link, but I'll give it a retweet again tonight on my GDA account. Top class stuff from John. Active Sports Coaching on Twitter at Coaching Active. So they're standalone two lads of vast experience as games development officers in Dublin, and they're working now full time, but they're sharing lots of really good content. Helpmecoach.ie on Twitter. So they've actually started a podcast this week. Very good for especially for kids at home. It's about parents, how you can deal with or what you can do physical activity with your kids at home. But they've also some really top class content as well. Physical activity and locomotor movement. So from a coaching perspective, there's some really good stuff there at Pam_Ireland. Some really good content. I think he's doing a doctorate at the moment on sort of fundamental movement for kids. Primary school principal with just vast experience. Again, Owen Mooney would have shared some top class content over the last couple of years. Hurling 365 have some very good stuff for, I suppose, game related stuff for schools and stuff like that. And last one would be the actual GA learning website and Twitter page. That you get the Fun Do Pack. If you go onto that and pick your age group, you've got hundreds of resources, games and activities for each one of them. Contact details for me, they're all there as regards coaching the game. Some of you are probably here through my GDA coaching account. I share lots of content at the game coaching. We have Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, and website. Okay, so there's lots and lots of opportunities there to share stuff. What I just want to show you two more things as well is we have a Dropbox. Again, go on to @game coaching and you'll see the Dropbox with the link to here. So it's got youth and adult coaching, summer camp stuff, primary school stuff, nursery and child coaching, files from other people, club development stuff. So I'll just click on the files from other people here, and there's coaching cards that Shara Regan and Kinsale shared with us, Cork GA development booklet with the age appropriate stuff, football pathway. I think they might be the tourists, maybe, I'm not too sure. There's a nursery worksheet, there's summer camp games. Just going into the nursery and child coaching section, there is a few chase games outlined, an exercise template, and just a few other nursery session over the river, under 7 indoor session, under 9 indoor session. So just a couple of various different games there. Okay. Next one, I'll just show you the last one, would be the nursery book that we have. So all those games that I have in the slideshow, in the presentation, are in this book. It's available. You can buy the hard copy for a tenner, or you can buy the soft copy or the online, the ebook, which we're just selling for just €2 at the moment. So if you want to go on, again, you'll find out all that information on my Twitter page. But it's just, that's the content that goes through setting up a nursery in your club, nursery layout, how to coach, the fundamental warm-up activities, hurling games, football games, session template plan, and just an area for notes and stuff. So that'll just give you an idea of setting up a nursery and various nursery layout there. So that's just a couple of things that we have available for coaches. Other than that, I don't have a huge amount extra. What I've got is a few questions here now that I'm just going to try to get through. If anyone wants to ask a few more questions, fire them into the chat there. How often would you train per week hurling? From a nursery, I presume nurseries only get one day a week or one session a week. Obviously, you'd love a child to have something in their hand every day, but that's encouraging them via putting in things like you giving them a bit of homework. You give them homework sheets. There's a very, very good book from Dublin GA. I'm not exactly sure the name of it, but what it does is it gives the kids homework. So it might be just a drawing, it might just be coloring page this week, but next week it might be to do an activity. So it's something simple, like you want them to practice. And you can see it at the moment now, these skill challenges and stuff like that. Think of stuff that's appropriate to an age group. So even, I'm just thinking myself, just looking, herself likes to have lots of sparkling water. There's 5 or 6 of these bottles inside in the recycling bin. Throw them out, make a game of Skittles with them. So put the ball on the ground, 10 shots. So how many can you knock up? Can you knock all 5 bottles over in one time? So something simple like that, where you have to encourage them to do it themselves, because I know a lot of kids, they might just come up. The only time they put the hurling in the hand is every week when at training. I know some clubs, they might do hurling one week, football the other week. What I would suggest in that situation would be to do 50 minutes of football this week and 10 minutes of hurling. And the 10-minute of hurling is just a match. And vice versa the next week, 50 minutes of hurling training and 10 minutes of a football game. So it just gets the hurling in the hand every week as opposed to every second week. So again, it's just limitation. I know children at that age, they don't need to be out too often, but getting as much value out of the session as you can. So Pat, I hope that answers that. How often would the nursery meet each week? How long does the nursery run for over the whole year? Again, I'd imagine they meet once a week. I don't think there's any more than that is necessary. As I said, if you have a good club school link program, that should cover over an extra session in the week. So I know, like, what we'd love to see would be that you're in primary school, your junior infants to second class will get coaching every week in the school, and that'll complement what happens in the club. How long does the nursery run over the whole year? It depends again on facilities and stuff like that. I know some clubs in Dublin and Cork would basically go from the second week in January to first week in December. They might go for essentially 11 months of the year. But it'd be indoor for a large part of it. And a lot of it mightn't be sport specific. So a lot of it might actually just be running games, fundamental movements, chase games, throwing games, stuff like that, not hurling or football specific. And a lot of content is that. As I said, if kids can move well and they're competent athletically, everything else gets easier from a skill point of view as they get older. So don't be afraid to do stuff like that. As I said, as regards how long, like there's no limit. There's no limit on what should be done and what shouldn't be done. Like, you know yourself from burnout from the parents as much as anything else. Are they glad? Are they looking forward to the end of the year? Some clubs will be off for 2 weeks and parents will be on to the coaches, when are we back. So I said, if the content is good, they'll keep coming, but make it as child friendly as possible. Play like during the winter, during the dark months of the winter now and stuff like that, is play little indoor leagues and stuff like that. Have a little championship board that maybe you might do. Like, you can do varying different sports. It can be throwing competitions and stuff like that, mini Olympics and things like that. Can you do something like this for under 14? Jeez, Pat, you're asking for an awful lot. Look, as I said, it depends on how long this thing goes on for. I'll try to share as much content as we can. I'm trying to do 2 webinars every week, specific to something small, something very specific, as opposed to something broad. So as I said, this could go on for 6 weeks, 6 months, I don't know. So I'm just trying to keep myself busy as a GDA. Kids well ahead of others, their own age group, with their peers, or move up. Yeah, question that comes up every single session. When you have a very advanced child in the age group, what do you do with them? So the biggest problem that we have as coaches is the gap between the top kid and the weakest kid, and being able to try to entertain all of them. And it's the hardest thing. In every single workshop we do, we get asked that question. So what my suggestion is to make it as game-based as possible. And what that'll do would be allow the weaker kid to kind of slip in under the radar, that he's not being noticed. So let's say if we play No Man's Land, I might go over to the best kid in the class and say, I want you to hit every ball with your weak side and see if you can hit the far off wall or hit it to the far off fence. He'll go, grand. Go over to the weakest kid, and you might just spend 4 minutes with them while the game has gone on, trying to get him to hit the ball twice. Really good. So you must set the limits within. I personally, I think that kids playing up an age group, it sets a precedent that if a child is very, very good and they go up and play with the under 8s, let's say in they're 7, if another parent decides, I want my son to go play with him because he's got 2 friends in that group, and they mightn't be up to the level, it can just cause a bit of consternation in the club. So I'd say as close as, but there's nothing wrong with going up every now and again, once every 6-7 weeks. But as I said, as opposed to full time up there, I just think it'll eventually cause friction between mentors in the club, that the under 12 mentor will want them because he always played with that team, and the under 11 mentor wants them now because they've got a team playing league games and they're losing by 4 or 5 points. So it's getting that balance right. As I said, each club individually. Some clubs, they won't be able to field at every age group. So your 8-year-old might be needed to play under 10. Other clubs, you might have 50 kids under 8. They all play under 8. So it's about challenging them within the training sessions, and having, I suppose, if you've got a bunch of coaches, let's say if you've got 20 kids and you've got 4 coaches, that you got 5 kids each to challenge on a weekly basis. So something like that would be what I'd recommend. Niall, coaching in Donegal, conscious that players might only have a hurl in their hand for that hour. Should I plan my whole session with hurl in hand? It's I suppose it's a hard one. Like, you could, but like as I said, if they can hit the ball but they can't move, where's what's going to be the crux at the end of the day? So I suppose it's getting the balance right. Like, if you think about it, if you can go, let's say we're going to put the hurling in the hand for 45 minutes of session, but they're all going to have a ball for 45 minutes of session. So they're not going to be waiting in a queue, or they're not going to be slowing down or waiting for somebody else. If they're active with a ball for 45 minutes of the session, that's as beneficial as you're going to get. They're not going to learn a huge pile extra in that extra 15 minutes. So I'd say make sure you do a bit of fundamental movement. Very, very important, because as I said, if you've got the best hurlers in the world, but they can't move, that'll eventually catch up with them. So I'd say try to get it as much as possible, but give them a bit of homework if you can. Get them a bit of homework that you're encouraging. As I said, like, look, one thing that I'd love to do in the primary schools before, when we play No Man's Land, would be the kids to go, can we pick the ball up? And I'd say, if you can roll lift or jab lift the ball properly, you can hit the ball out of your hands. And if you can't do it, you can't hit the ball out of your hands. So what do you think happened in the week? 5 or 6 other boys seen Johnny hitting the ball over his hands. They were told they can't do it unless they could do a jab lift or a roll lift. They practiced that. They came back next week and they said, I can do that now. So simple things like that, and how you kind of manipulate them in a way. Should training be set up in stations? This means one bunch may start with a game and other starts fundamental movements. From Jamie, again, depend on the numbers. Like as I said, I won't go into too much specifics, but like if you've got 50 kids or 20 kids or 10 kids, it can be difficult to get the balance right. So what I'd suggest it would be to use some sort of stations. There's nothing wrong with doing a match first. And it's one thing that I would encourage as well, if your kids, like I know when I was helping the nursery in Kildare 3 years ago, the kids were very slow to get out of the car. So we'd start at 6 o'clock and it'd be 10 past 6, there was still kids getting out of the car. So for 3 weeks in a row, we actually started with the match. And as soon as the kids came down and they were driving in the car, looking out the window, and they seen there was a match on, they couldn't get out of the car fast enough. So I might just encourage them to be down faster. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, once they do fundamental movements at some time in the training session, it's important. And so it doesn't have to be, you can do match and do everything backwards from the traditional, and it doesn't matter because the kids, they don't know what's perfect and what's expected. So as I said, they're not going to pull any muscles or anything if they don't do fundamental movements first or do just, let's say, the traditional warm-up at that age. So whatever gets them engaged. So if you've half them playing a match, the first ones that arrive, the first 10 that arrive, guarantee you the next week they'll all be coming a little bit faster because they want to play the match earlier. Can you share the slides for presentation? Yes, I got last week's slides and this week's slides. I'll try to get up to tomorrow if I can. I'll put up the video as well afterwards if anyone wants to watch this again. I don't think you will, but I know. How do you deal with the gap in age group if there is not enough at under 6? Kieran, I presume what you mean is if there's up to an under 6. Sorry, Karen, goodbye. So what I presume you mean is that if there's an under 10 team or an under 8 team in the club and there's not enough at under 6, it's just managing it. I know this year our plan was to, in the Go Games in Cork, was to go down to 5-a-side for under 8 for the start of the year. Just that it will cater for the smaller clubs, that if they do have less numbers, they can play 5-a-side. So if they can't, like, there's nothing wrong with having the under 6 to train with the under 8 as a separate little body. So even if there's just 4 of them or 3 of them, that they have their own little group for some activities that are appropriate to them, because they won't be able to compete with the 8-year-old for all the activities. Right. I'm just going to keep rattling through these as quick as I can now. Very good. How do we ensure kids to run sprint properly to avoid injury? Paul, I'm not an expert in athletic development. I won't say I am. What I would say is get them as early as possible running and moving fast. I said, look at Johnny Murphy's stuff. Just the content that we shared. There is he's got some good stuff. But as I said, like, I know, I think it was, I'm trying to think now who was the coach we used to have in Dublin, and he used to always say, if you do nothing else except teach the kids how to run for the first 3 years of their life, or from 4 to 7, that's the most important thing a nursery can do. So I don't know if there's an athletic coach, athletic club around where there might be an expert might be able to help out in that regard. But it's look, as I said, you know, some kids they run. It might be the most orthodox run, but it's effective for them and it doesn't affect their body any way around. But I know what you're saying, but I'd say it's just I'd say get an athletic coach in there if you can. Sounds like Mickey Whelan. It probably is Mickey Whelan who said that. But it is, if they can move well, they'll be able to play well. So any last questions before we go? The numbers, a couple of people are dropping off. So I'll give another minute or two if anyone wants to fire any last question at us. Notice the dog has relaxed. No, look, as I said, the thing with the nursery is that from a hurling perspective, I think the most important thing is that your kids are holding the hurley correctly by the time they get to 7. So I don't care how good they are at jab lifting, striking the ball. If they're holding the hurley correctly with their dominant hand on top of the hurley close to the butt and the other hand used for other activities, that would be the most important part. So regardless of anything else, if you have them moving well and have them technically proficient in hurling, that's the most important thing. All the other skills will get easier along the way. From a football perspective, kicking the ball and encourage left and right as much as possible so that they're confident that they can actually kick a ball, or they're comfortable learning it. So you yourself might have to break down the coaching points of it a lot more for yourself. I know 12 years ago, I couldn't kick the ball with my left leg. Well, I didn't kick the ball on my left leg. And until I started coaching, and I was I had to break it down myself. What am I actually doing? I have to step forward with the right leg. I got to drop the ball with my left hand. So everything I was doing for a right-legged kicker before, I now started coaching, and now I'd say I'm all right kicking with my left leg. So break down the skills, as I said, left and right, really, really important as much as possible. Kids will start playing one way or the other if they're left at it. So encourage left and right as much as possible. Last few, how big should the hurley be? There is I'll retweet. Peter Nash actually has a really good video clip for about 2 minutes on how big a hurley should be. It should basically be what we'll say for a child should be if your hand is down by your side and you swung your hand like that, it should just graze the top of the ground as you're swinging through. So in linked, not the mind up to the top of the hip as we used to do when we were younger. The hand, you should hold the hurley, and if the hurley was on flattened, or if you had your hand straight down your side and the hurley at the hand, it should be just touching the ground. And I said smaller the better, because the smaller will just get them into the technique better. It'll make them bend the knees a little bit. It'll make them drop the shoulder. Just little things like that. The bigger the hurley, more likely to put the non-dominant hand on top. Every other sport in the world does it, apart from hurling, where the opposite hand, the non-dominant hand, goes on top. But for ground hurling, it's grand. They'll hit the ball a mile, but once they start having to pick it up, they'll be in a bit of trouble. What about the boss turned in while jab lifting? How wrong is it? Jamie, the boss have it turned out where possible. I don't my hurley here, no, I'm afraid. Reason being is just technically what the way the boss will be facing out is that when a player goes to jab lift the ball, it'll be closer to the sharper edge, let's say, than the thick edge. So if it's turned in when he's going at speed, what will happen is that my explanation of it will be, I'll try to do this now if you can see, but if I'm jab lifting the ball with hurley with the toe facing out, let's say the proper way, when the ball comes up, you're moving it in the motion that the ball will come across your body to your hurley hand. Whereas if you have to go with the 10 edge, your hurley is coming from a slightly different angle, and the ball is going away from the body. So that's how I'd explain it. But it's just, again, it's very important from a technical point of view that when the kids are blocking the ball and doing their jab lifting and doing the soloing, it's very simple. When they're 5, put the beanbag on the hurley, turn the hurley the right way around, get them doing it. They'll do it like that forever, okay? But start them early and encourage it early. Again, if there's 5 coaches with a group of 20, 4 kids each, make sure the 4 of them correct him. If he's doing it wrong, keep on him. Encourage him where possible. There's no player playing Lee McCarthy up hurling who has the toe facing in the hurley. And there's only one fella, and that's Walter Walsh, with the hands the wrong way around. He's an athletic freak. He can run 100 meters in probably 11 seconds, 6'4", just a freak of a man. Yeah, parents, the hurley, too big, too long. Parents are going to see this as should we make it 3 or 4 years out of this? Encourage where possible the smaller, lighter hurleys. Have them in the club as well yourselves. Have a batch in the club for the smallies, that if a child does come with a big hurley, throw the hurley, give the hurley to the parent and say that's too big for him, he'll use the club one for the time being. They'll go in, they'll buy one. But just encourage, that's a bit of information that needs to go to the parents in the club once you start. So at the start of the year, when you're starting your nursery, let's say if we're starting the weekend after Paddy's weekend, the weekend before or a Thursday night before, we'll have a parents meeting and we'll inform them of this, okay? Takes half an hour, but it's really good to get parents on side, fill them in on the plan for the year. We're going to start now, we're going to finish on the 31st of October, we're going to have an Easter or Halloween party, everybody goes home, we're done for the year, whatever the plan is, okay? Sorry, Damien, or Jamie, if you've always been doing it wrong. Taggy Fogarty again, but Taggy was a freak athletically, really, really fast. And said there's very few get away with it, and I said they're the only 2 that get away with it. But we see it from a development squad. But just to give you a perspective of development squad point of view, when we get kids coming into us at 13 and 14, they might be able to get away with it at 13, but by the time it comes to 14, there's very few kids technically, let's say, incorrect. Would make it at Cork under 14 level, let's say. I'm just going back over the last 6 years that we've done it. The only player I can think of is Blake Murphy, and he's a Cork footballer now, excellent hurler as well. Cork under 20 last year and this year, but he's the only fella that held the hurley inside the toe facing in. But technically, I think there was very, very few made it up to at under 16 with anything with incorrect. Let's say grip or the way the toe was facing. So it's just simple. If you can just get that right early, it's really, really important. It makes everything else easy. Right, folks, I'm going to leave it go there. Thanks very much. I'll try to get all the stuff. Instead, I might get it up tonight. I'll probably get it up tomorrow. So just I'll try to just put the slides up on the Dropbox and link them into the Twitter page as best I can. But look, as I said, thanks very much. If you have any feedback on what can be done better or whatever, just bang me a message. But look, grateful to see such a bunch of people interested in coaching at this stage of the year. As I said, we don't know when we'll be back in action, but hopefully be sooner rather than later. Okay, so thanks very much. Bye-bye.